Is were you able to get the camera?
I don't know. Let's see, share my camera. No one else is logged in right now.
It's loud. And the door's closed too, right? Yeah, yeah.
What is she doing? What is that?
Oh, that's me. That's our live video. I'm just screen recording.
Well, it's kind of loud.
In the other, yeah, it's pretty loud.
You got the door closed?
Yeah, well, it's like partially closed.
So it's not showing.
Where did last week? Oh, there's no turn on button. So with the presentation that you created, are you going to be talking to them?
Yes.
For like a good amount?
Well, it sounds like it. Well, I'm playing it by ear because normally you introduce the speaker and they go for it.
Right.
All right, let's see. Is it using this one? Yeah, it's using this one.
Okay.
It's not using this one at all.
You're like greenish right there.
Yeah, what's up?
Oh, there you go. So it's not this one. All right. Oh.
So what did I do?
I have to mute myself.
I need to turn this off. Oh. Yes, yes. I'm gonna put them in there. Yes, I prefer it. What does it look like for you, by the way? Well, you have to let me know the questions because in my view, everything's bunched up here.
Yeah, so I guess what you have.
Okay, if that's the case, we may need a mic. We may need a mic.
Oh, I mean, I can say
We may need a mic so you can be heard. Don't get shy now.
I can say a lot. Yeah, I can say.
Well, okay, well, we don't want you to use your volleyball voice. We want you to use your indoor voice. Oh, no. Anyone else on? Mary Mitchell, hello, good morning, welcome. We'll be getting started soon, just holding on for everyone to get on board. Yeah, how do I do that? Where's the file? Good morning, all. Thanks for joining us. We'll be getting started shortly. Please be patient. Looking forward to hearing all your questions. And hopefully we can help somebody this morning.
Hello. Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yes, is that Ed?
Yes, sir. Hi, Richard. How are you?
I'm doing well. Good morning again. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
Well, video.
Hey, Ed, do you have video?
How about that? That work?
Awesome, awesome. Let everybody see your handsome face. I know.
Yeah, my unshaven face. I'll tell you, the only good thing out of this is I haven't had to do this, but
Man, I had a full beard at one time until I had to come into the office, you know.
right?
Okay, what time do we have? Okay, it's 11:56. We will give everyone, is that the right time? Okay, so we will give everyone another 3 minutes or so to join us, and then we will get started.
Perfect.
Hey, Ed.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, my name is Kim. I'm going to be on the back end. I'm going to be monitoring the questions. So in advance, I'm just going to say if I interrupt you really quick just to bring up a question, don't mind me.
Okay.
Awesome.
Should I be looking at the chat too? Or are you guys going to take written questions?
Yeah, there's a question box, so people will be asking questions as you present. So you don't have to rely on that.
Okay.
I'll monitor that and I'll ask the question.
Okay.
Awesome, awesome. So 2 minutes and counting. Feel the excitement build.
Wait, every Wednesday for this. Every Wednesday.
Okay.
I'll tell you, I wish I
Again,
was
good morning,
getting paid.
everyone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ed. What were you saying?
I was saying I wish I got paid by the word now. I'd be able to retire.
You're doing a lot of presentations?
Just a few, just a few.
I can imagine. Okay. So we'll get started here in 1 minute. Just like to say good morning to everyone. Dr. Austin, I see you. Mr. Smiley, I see you. Okay. So I will go on and get started. Good morning. Welcome to another Wednesday webinar with the Government Contractors Association. We're helping you navigate the government market during the coronavirus pandemic. And today's program will focus on some of the disaster assistance programs available for businesses. Just a few quick announcements before we jump into it. This is me. We don't need to dwell here. My name's Richard Brooks. I'm the CFO of the Government Contractors Association, and my background is in business finance. I've been an asset-based lender since 2010, and I've helped many businesses secure operating capital and investment capital to get their businesses off the ground or to take advantage of a major opportunity. I like seeing businesses take advantage of opportunities and grow, which is one of the reasons I'm here at the Government Contractors Association. Next week's webinar, we will feature Mr. Mark Knowles, and he is a specialist in identifying opportunities. Most members of GCA know about GovDirections. It's a bid matching platform that comes with membership within GCA. So if you're a member in GCA and you don't know about GovDirections, give us a call because we need to get you set up. If you don't have a bid matching platform that you're using in your business, it helps you identify opportunities. It automates the search process based upon criteria that you can establish in your profile, and anything that matches that criteria on the federal level, state, and local level, and even some commercial opportunities, it will bring into your inbox on a daily basis. So all you have to do is click the link and get to the opportunities. You don't have to scour the different websites yourself. It can help you eliminate that step. Okay, again, that's next Wednesday, and it'll start at 12 o'clock. So just put this time on your calendar. And registration is in the same place as it was for this one. Okay, look forward to seeing you there. Now, here, this is just a disclaimer that we're here to provide you information and that all information should be vetted before you act upon it, because things are changing on a regular basis, as you will hear. All right. Today, our guest is Mr. Ed Carballo, and he is the Deputy District Director of the SBA Georgia District Office. And we're coming together to get the latest updates on the SBA and Treasury Department business assistance programs. The three major programs that everyone knows about are the EIDL loan program, the SBA Express Bridge loan program, and the Paycheck Protection program. And Mr. Ed has been gracious enough to donate his time this morning. So let's welcome him.
Good morning, y'all.
Welcome,
Thank
Ed.
you very much.
You want to
Good
tell
morning.
everyone a little bit about yourself before we get started?
Sure. My name is Ed Carballo. I'm the Deputy District Director for the U.S. Small Business Administration, state of Georgia. I've been working for the government for a few years now, trying to help folks out. My private sector experience, I was with Morgan Stanley, H&R Block, some of the larger Fortune 500s. Have an extensive background in finance, business banking, information technology, all that good stuff. And so after 20 years, as they say in the real world, I decided to use my 5 years worth of military service and buy into the government's plan and become a government employee once again. So here I am.
Awesome, awesome. And we're benefiting from that. And so I just prepared a few questions for you that I'll ask at the end. And if anyone has any questions, you can type them into the chat box, and we will get to them as soon as we can. And you can do that as we go, and we have someone monitoring the question list and they will let us know when there's a question that needs to be addressed. So Ed, you want to get started?
Absolutely.
Okay. So this slide here shows where you can get the facts on the programs. Ed, you want to take it?
Yeah, so there's an email that I had sent prior to the start of this program. All the links, they were kind enough, Richard was kind enough to put these up for y'all. So there's two main places to go for information, and literally the programs are changing sometimes from day to day. We'll talk about some of those changes later on, but for updates on our side of the house on SBA, you can see the website that's provided there. And also the same thing with the Treasury. The US Treasury is updating their information almost on a daily basis. And so if you want to see the most current iteration of anything, whether it's the PPP application, whether it is instructions for participating lenders, instructions for applicants, the most frequently asked questions, which by the way are I think they were just updated yesterday. They should be dated 4/14. There's a lot of questions in there that folks have asked from all walks of life, and they've tried to address as many as the most common questions that they can. You know, questions that we're seeing trends we're getting over and over. We're reporting that up the line so that they can be addressed and it can be published. And so hopefully it'll eliminate any confusion, but I would steer you all to these two links because this is going to have the most up-to-date current information for both of our federal organizations.
Now, Ed, most people think of the SBA programs. Now, what are the Treasury programs that people may not be aware of?
Okay, so really the way things are working behind the scenes is it's really 4 or 5 federal agencies. So you've got the United States Treasury, you've got the IRS, you've got the Fed Fund, where all the banks go and borrow money, and then you have the SBA. So as far as programs that are run through us, directly by us, the first one is the Economic Injury and Disaster Loan, better known as the EIDL program. And that is, there is no middleman on that. You simply go to sba.gov. I believe it's a 3 or 4 page application, very simple, very straightforward. Again, no banks involved. You apply, and then you are assigned. There we go, number 1. I'm speaking about number 1 now on the deck here. So this program is run directly through and by the SBA. So this is a program you may have heard with a up to a $10,000 advance. So the way it works is you apply, hopefully within 3 to 5 days, you get a decision on the advance portion, and they're getting better on that. As you can imagine, you know, we were using the normal disaster portal for this when we first started the program about 3.5 weeks ago. And so that disaster portal was designed for a few counties, you know, for the normal disasters, hurricanes, fires, floods, tornadoes, natural disasters where you may have several counties in one state that get hit at once. Sometimes if it's a real bad, you may have 2 or 3 states. Never have we ever had anything where it's all 50 states eligible at one time. So as you can imagine, when we rolled that program out, folks were interested, they were hitting it. It was like trying to put a bowling ball through a garden hose, and it actually crashed and it shut down. So just to give you some understanding, when that happened on that first Friday about 3 weeks ago, what happened was the SBA leadership team made a decision to go ahead and to partner with Quicken Loans. Y'all heard of Rocket Mortgage and Quicken Loans. So what we did is we partnered with them to open up the bandwidth on that so that we would never crash again, because we knew the demand was going to be unprecedented. We're in unprecedented times. So to that end, we were able to work over Saturday, Sunday with the Quicken technical team and really blow open that bandwidth so that we would never have that issue again, to the point now where we can actually process 2,000 applications on that portal per second. And so if you extrapolate that out, there's 30 million small businesses in the United States of America. That means if every one of them applied, in theory, we could process 30 million of them in 4 hours. So we fixed that problem. We don't have a bandwidth problem with the idle program anymore. So that was one proactive step. And coming from the private sector, spending 25 years in the private sector, I could really appreciate that, because the SBA is not known out in the world as being the most technically advanced agency out there, but we really stepped up our game for this one. And so we repeated that with other vendors. Go ahead, Richard, you had a question?
Yeah, you say that's on the intake or the full application?
So that's the intake.
As far as,
yeah, so it's the application, and then what happens is we have folks working, disaster loan officers that are being assigned these as they come in. It's first come, first serve. And we also contracted with Quicken to be able to boost that. So in theory, we can process and fully underwrite 1 million loans every 3 weeks, I want to say. So that is a pretty high bandwidth, and that the million every 3 weeks is just the Quicken folks helping us out, not our own internal. I think we're close to matching that number. So in theory, it's almost 2 million applications before a 30-day period is up.
so everyone I talk to asks me, is anyone getting their EIDL loan? Has anyone gotten paid from the EIDL program?
Yes. So the people that first applied when this opened, I think 3 weeks ago, those folks have started getting the full amount. So what we were seeing last week was a bunch of folks started getting deposits into their accounts, because as part of the application process, you have to provide either a checking account or a savings account. And so what's happening is the technology that's been built now is faster than the paper. And so what we've been getting for the last week is people calling an email and saying, hey, I got 6,000, I got 8,000, I got 10,000. I don't know what it's for. And we're like, yeah, hold up. The letter's coming to tell you that you were approved for the advanced portion of the program. And so that's the money that's being direct deposited in. And now we're seeing the first wave of people who had applied 3 weeks ago actually getting the full amount that they were approved and funded for. So we anticipate that will continue to roll right through. So just quick highlights on this, that this is a program up to 2 million, up to a $10,000 advance. And the way that the $10,000 advance is calculated is a per employee basis. So you filling out the application, if you say you have 8 folks working for you, each one of those 8 folks is worth $1,000. So in theory, you would get the $8,000 up front, and that is forgivable. Essentially, it is a grant. It does not have to be repaid. The other thing that I want to mention about this program is if you're approved for the full amount, whatever that amount ends up being, up to 2 million, it's an automatic 12-month deferment. So that means no payments until the start of month 13, which helps small businesses tremendously from a cash flow standpoint, because now you don't have to make a payment on this till month 13. The other thing that's unique about this program, and again, never been done, is the interest does not accrue. We were told that the interest, so essentially they're freezing it. You're getting 12 months worth of money at 0 interest, really. And then your first payment isn't due until month 13. And those rates you can see on the sheet is 3.75 for-profit organizations and 2.75 for nonprofits. And really up to a 30-year term is like a residential mortgage, right? So you can stretch out that payment however long you need so that you're comfortable on a monthly cash flow basis for that when you start paying in month 13. So
now, was this a program that someone who was 1099 or an independent small business owner, is this a program for them as well?
Yep. So number 1 and number 3 on the program, as of last Friday, are now open to W-2 employees and 1099 sole proprietor contractors. So those are, and the only caveat is, yes, you can apply for both. Yes, you can be approved for both. But the only caveat is you cannot use the proceeds from both loans for the same singular purpose. That's the only prohibition.
Okay.
So you can apply for both. You can be granted and approved both. You can be given money for both. You just can't use it for the same bucket. You can only use one proceed for one singular purpose. That's the only limitation or prohibition to this. The second one is the SBA Express Bridge Loan. This is an SBA normal product that we have that we would normally roll out for disasters, and any of the 200 approved banks in the state of Georgia who are normally SBA lenders before the disaster struck that have an express agreement with us are able and eligible to give these loans, these bridge loans. And so if the $2,000 or the $8,000 or the $10,000 advance is not enough to cover you while you're waiting for the loan to be decisioned, this is where you can go to your lender and say, you know, I'm interested in applying for the Express Bridge Loan, and that's up to $25,000. And literally, that's all of those lenders have the ability to process and underwrite those loans in-house. They don't even need our approval or blessing or anything for that. So it's literally as fast as the lender can get documents from the borrower, is as quick as that can be approved and funded. So that's kind of like a level 2 assistance for folks who need more than what the EIDL program advance provides. And then the third program is the one you all probably been hearing the most about, is the PPP, the Payment Protection Program.
Can I ask a quick question about the Express Bridge Loan Program?
Sure.
So will payments be deferred on that as well?
They are regular 7A customers, and those payments are automatically deferred. I believe it's for 6 months. And based on where we will be in 6 months, there's a very good chance that those will be deferred for an additional 6 months, depending on where we are in this crisis. So yes, absolutely. The other thing that I should mention about these programs, at least under number 1 and number 3 is, which is unheard of, and Richard can attest to this in the lending world, is there is no collateral requirement and there is no personal guarantee required of the borrower, which Richard can attest to in our world, in the lending world, has never been done. Never been done. So, I mean, they could think about this. Where could you go and get a loan for $2 million where you don't have to put up your home, your car, your children, everything else that a bank would normally ask for, right? That is all waived, and the personal guarantee portion of it is waived. Again, unprecedented, really? Unheard of.
Wow, that is unprecedented. Not even a personal guarantee.
That's correct. Not even a personal guarantee, and I believe that's up to $500,000. Above $500,000, they may ask you to pledge stuff like your equipment or your inventory, but never your home or your checking accounts or your retirement account. None of that stuff will ever be encumbered under these programs, which is again unheard of. So getting back to the PPP program. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
So in programs 1 and 2, who are the decision makers?
So in programs number 1, the SBA is the decision maker. In program number 2, the lender essentially is the decision maker on the SBA's behalf.
Is that up to the 25K or above that as well?
Well, that is, the bridge product is only up to 25K. It does not exceed that. It is meant as a temporary fill-in until either number 1 or number 3 or a commercial product hits. So those are based on the bank. The bank is the one who actually underwrites them, processes them, and approves them, and funds them directly to the small business. For number 3. Number 3 is the one you probably heard the most about. And so when this rolled out, I think 2.5 weeks ago originally, It was originally designed for small businesses who had W-2 employees, and the concept of the program was fairly simple and straightforward. It was, look, rather than lay your folks off and let them hit the street, we want you to be ready to roll whenever the fog is lifted and we're allowed to, resume normal life and day-to-day operations, that you would have your business intact from a human capital standpoint. So the program was designed and developed with Treasury, with IRS, with SBA to say, look, here's what we can do. If you're a small business and you have W-2 employees, we want you to keep and retain the talent that you've worked hard to acquire. And so rather than letting those folks go to the street and potentially being hired by a competitor, we said, why don't we incentivize the small business through this program where essentially they can borrow up to $10 million. And if they use at least 75% of those funds to keep paying their people their normal salaries or their normal wages per hour, including benefits, if they were extending medical benefits and things of that nature. And if they do that for an 8-week period from the day we say yes and give them a check, then 75% of that would be forgivable. So an easy example is a $100,000 approval. As a small business, I have my W-2 employees, I make the application, and then they give me $100,000. I spend the next 8 weeks spending at least $75,000 of that $100,000 to keep my people employed, to keep their benefits intact. And as long as you can prove that at the end of the 8-week period, that it's a simple process to go ahead and apply to have it forgiven. So essentially, the government doesn't like the G word, right? Grant, I'm calling it a grant. It's a forgivable loan. If you don't have to pay a loan, there's only other one thing it can be is a grant. Right? So that's how it was designed. And I can tell you right now, based on the applications we're getting and the approvals we're tracking, the 75% threshold is easy. We're averaging 95%. So on the money that's being given out to these small businesses, they are literally using 95% of that to do exactly that, to keep their talent intact, ready to roll, so that when we come out of this, they hit the ground running without skipping a beat. Okay, so the 75% minimum becomes forgivable, and then the remaining 25%, or in the example I use, 25,000, becomes a 2-year term loan at 1% interest. That's essentially what the program is. Now, how that has changed and morphed over the last week is we got a lot of complaints, Treasury got a lot of complaints, and IRS got even more complaints from 1099 sole proprietors that are going, time out. My employer is claiming me under this program, and I am my own small business for all intents and purposes. And why can't I get a piece of this? And so basically, we went back to the lawyers and said, okay, we agree. We agree. Tell us why they're wrong. And so after all of those agencies getting together and all of those legal teams, they deemed that they weren't wrong and that they should be eligible. In fact, they are eligible. And as of last Friday, any 1099 employee, whether they formed an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, doesn't really matter, or if they had no formal organization to their business, essentially the IRS and Treasury considers them a small business for tax purposes, so we should as well. So the program was opened up to those folks last Friday, officially is when it hit. And so yes, they should be applying for those programs. And I know we're going to get a ton of questions about how do I this and how do I that. Let me answer one of those proactively right now. So what we're going to use for the calculation to make the determination of this is we're going to use line 31 of your Schedule C, which is going to be the revenue. So line 1 is your gross revenue, what you take in, and line 31 is your net. What do you pay yourself at the end of the day? So if I'm a 1099 independent contractor, let's say I'm in the realty game, I hang my realty license with Coldwell Banker or Remax or whoever. They pay me 1099. They don't pay payroll taxes on my behalf. I have to pay that myself directly. And so line one is that gross income that I'm paid by them for my services rendered. But the net is what you pay yourself at the end of the day. So take out all your expenses, take out anything else that you're paying. The calculation is going to come from what you pay yourself. Line 31, what is your net income? And that is what's going to be used to apply for these loans. What else can I tell you about this? I'm going to stop talking because I talk a lot if y'all ain't figured that out yet. So Richard's just going to have to throw up his hands or give me this sign, because there's a lot of information we want to cover. We understand folks have a lot of questions. This is everything that I just covered with y'all regarding the PPP forgiveness. You know, if you have, and I did provide a frequently asked questions, so 99% of the stuff I'm covering with you was already sent out in an email to Richard and the folks over there so that they can disseminate that to you all. Here's the link where you apply directly. We mentioned the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Again, that's through the SBA directly. There's no middlemen, there's no vendors, there's no banks, there's nobody else involved. You all apply with us directly. You can see the link there. The PPP link there, you can actually, and I think I included it on my email to Richard in the group, it's actually a 4-page borrower application, and you can take that to any bank that's participating. Go ahead, Richard.
I think there are attachments in platform that participants can download. I think that's one of them.
Yep, that's the first one. So it says SBA PPP borrower application form. That's the form that you're going to need to download and fill out. Okay. And then there's two Treasury fact sheets with the most frequently asked questions. The more current one is the one dated April 14th, which was yesterday. That was updated. And there's all kinds of good information there. And I mean, the questions we get are unbelievable. So, you know, this stuff about, hey, I was a felon. I was a convicted felon 10 years ago. Am I eligible to apply for these programs? The answer is yes, believe it or not. And those, so it's wide open. I mean, the government is trying to make this as user-friendly as possible to make as many people eligible for these programs as possible, period. Which again, coming from the outside, you know, we're not used to seeing the government necessarily work that way for the small business owner. Normally it's the large corporations that get these kind of deals. This is a deal available to everybody. I would encourage everyone to apply for whatever they think they qualify for. And again, the only caveat on the EIDL and the PPP is if you get approved for both and you receive money for both, you cannot use it for the same singular purpose. So as long as you don't do that, you're good to go. And really all of this is brand new to everybody because we've never dealt with this type of size or scope. So the phrase that I like to use is we're flying the plane while we're building it. And that's kind of how things are going on.
So don't step too hard in different places. So you mentioned the loans, if you're approved, the funds have to be used for different purposes.
That's right.
Aren't 1099s also available to apply for unemployment?
So they can, and I'm not going to answer any, I can't speak for the Department of Labor. That's their program. They run that and they administer that program. We don't. What I would tell you is this, Richard, and your folks, is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right. So take every shot you think you can take. Every shot you think you're eligible for, apply for it. So if you were one of those 1099s and you were laid off, try it. If you were a W-2 and you were laid off, try it. I am encouraging everybody to go for everything that they possibly can, because we're paying for it as the taxpayer and we should all benefit from it equally.
Awesome. Okay, let's see. Oh, you provided some loan statistics. You want to walk through those?
Yep, let's take a look. So this was as of 1 minute before midnight on the 13th. So this is about a little over a day old. So these are national numbers now. So just for the PPP program, we had approved over 1 billion loans. So that's 1,035 million loans for $247 billion and change. And there were 4,664 unique lenders, participants that were uploading the 4-page application on behalf of the borrower in order to get this done. So that's more than we've ever had either. So you probably read and heard and seen, and we heard this too. Let me just cover Georgia and I'll go back to that. So about halfway down in the first column, you'll see Georgia. So I can tell you now that the approved loan count is probably closer to 35,000 individual approved loans under this program, and we're probably around $7.2 billion. So the 6.725 you see there, that actually places us in the top 10 in the country. And really that was because we were working hard when this thing first hit. There was a bunch of hoops that the states had to jump through in order to have their counties declared as eligible for these programs. And so we worked real hard with a lot of folks on the governor's team and other folks that were interested parties. And we spent a week to make sure that we jumped through every hoop that DC asked us to jump through. So Georgia was actually, I think, the 3rd or 4th state nationally where all of our counties were declared eligible for these programs. And as a result of that, you see that we're in the top 10, not only for loan number, but for dollars funded, because we opened up the pipeline to make all 159 counties in Georgia available and eligible for these programs. And you're seeing the fruit of that here in front of you.
Awesome, awesome. So was there something else you wanted to point out about this slide?
Now I got to remember. Let's see. What was I going to hit you guys with? Told you about the no collateral. Told you about the deferred payments on the PPP are 6 months. So the EIDL program is an automatic 12 months. The current deferment today, as it stands, is 6 months. So anybody approved for a PPP loan is not going to be making a payment until the beginning of month 7. So again, that helps from a cash flow standpoint, but I wouldn't be surprised and don't be shocked if that gets extended out to 12 months based on where we are a few months down the road. We're continuing to enhance the customer service. So as you can imagine, when this all hit and folks heard we were eligible, we blew up. Normally, we would have 300 folks manning the disaster customer service line. So what we did is real quick, about 2 weeks ago, we ramped up as fast as we could. And currently we have 7,000 customer service reps working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer people's questions. So you can call that number. And I think that was in the email that I had sent to Richard as well. And if not, let me pull it up right here, right now. Let me give it to everybody. It's 1-800-659.
It's coming up.
Yeah, 800-659-2955. Or if you have specific detailed questions you want to ask about your particular situation, you can do that with the dedicated email address, which is all one word, no spaces, dots, hyphens, disaster customer service at sba.gov. Again, it's disaster customer service at sba.gov. And for folks like me that like to do things old school, if you don't want to submit these applications electronically, you're allowed to print them off. We will accept paper applications, and you can mail those to U.S. Small Business Administration. and that's care of the Processing and Disbursement Center. So first line, U.S. Small Business Administration. Second line, Processing and Disbursement Center. And the physical address is 14925 Kingsport Road, KINGSPORT Road. And that's in Fort Worth, Texas. And the zip is 76155.
Okay. So
one other thing I wanted to cover real quick, and I don't know if we had it in here, Richard, if you put it in, was the actual form I had sent. Yeah, okay, I see it on the side on handouts. So you all see a Word document there that says template request for voluntary suspension. So for any of you folks that are currently in our 8A business development program for government contracting, based on what's happening out there in the world right now, we understand that it's not the best time to go out. There ain't a whole lot of people putting bids out on the street. So what you can do is we've created an option for you to freeze your participation in the program for up to 12 months. And so it's a simple Word document, just fill in what's required. It's self-explanatory. And then you should know who your business opportunity specialist is that's assigned to your case. If you don't know who that individual is, then I'm going to give you the contact information for the supervisor. His name is Robert Ware. And let me give you his direct information. So you can email, if you don't know who your business opportunity specialist is, you can email Robert Ware. And let me just pull up his stuff. Okay, his email is Robert, ROBERT .WARE @SBA.gov. So this is for anybody who's currently in the 8A business development program. You can suspend your status for up to a year, which means once you come out of it, you'll have an additional year of eligibility in the program. Normally it's a 9-year program. So if you're in year 7, you're frozen in year 7. And whenever you want, you can wait the full year, or you can request to come out based on what's happening in the real world here. So if the next 3 or 4 months get better and things start getting back to normal from a business standpoint, and you want to come out of that early, you can come out early. There's no reason to stay in for the full 12 months. But if you want to stay in for the 12 months, that option is also available. And there also
we got a question.
Okay.
Okay, so the question is, will the paper applications take longer to process than the electronic application?
Okay, here's my answer. No.
Okay.
In theory, they're all supposed to go first come, first serve. What I can tell you is that anytime there's human beings involved and they have to touch things and move things, there's a chance that it's not going to work as advertised. So no, they will all be processed at the same time. Oh, okay.
Okay. So Ed,
yeah.
I can't see your face, but I understand there's some animation there that I'm missing. So.
Yes, sir.
All right. Now, I have a client who wanted to apply for a program, but they defaulted on an SBA program about 15 years ago. Should they still apply, or should they not apply?
They should. Back to you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You need to. They need to. I can't guarantee it'll go through, but what I can tell you is they'll get nothing if they don't apply. So yes, they're taking, they're supposed to relax the normal underwriting standards So that even includes people that got swept up in that fund back in 2008 and 9 when we had that last hiccup in the economy. And for folks who had short sales, a lot of folks had short sales. A lot of folks had to declare bankruptcy. We're being told that none of that is being held against anybody. So
That's awesome.
I would encourage them to please apply. Again, I can't guarantee, I'm not an underwriter, but my recommendation to you all would be apply.
Okay, we have a question. I got an email from the SBA with lender match PIN number, but I don't know how to use this info. Is this
Lender match, you said?
I don't know what the last. It's a match PIN number. A lender match PIN number.
Okay, well, there's two things there. It could be. So we have a program that's called Lender Match. You go on to SBA.gov. And if you use that program, what it does is it's like Lending Tree, only for commercial small businesses, right? So what you do is you fill out a profile. You say, this is me, this is my business, this is what I'm looking for, this is how much money, this is what I'm going to use it for. And then basically it goes out to all of our lenders that are approved. And if it matches the criteria they have set in the system, it joins them. And basically what it is within 24 hours, you'll get connected with an SBA lender who can respond to your inquiry. And then it's like Lending Tree. You kind of bounce one off the other. Oh, I can give you this much at this rate. I can do this for that. So that's the true lender match program. This sounds more to me like what they did is they created a backdoor portal for people who had applied for some of these loans so that they could check the status of the loan without calling the SBA, the Treasury, the IRS, their banker. And it allows you to go in and kind of see a backdoor live status of where you are in terms of, was it assigned to a loan officer? Are they asking for additional documentation? So I'm not sure which one it is, but those are the two that I'm aware of.
Gotcha. So another question that I've heard, and it was a pretty big topic on our last webinar last week. If someone has more than one company, what should they do? I think at some point, there was some guidance that said that you could only apply once. An owner could only apply once for the loans. Can you provide any clarity on that?
Yeah, so again, this is an ever evolving, well, I lost you all there. I don't see you anymore. Can you still hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Oh, I lost visual. Anyway, yes, so there was two things. The first thing that came out was strict guidance that said you could only take one bite of the apple. Everybody gets a bite, right? So you want to leave enough so that everybody gets one bite of the apple. Then, however, we know that there's business owners that own more than one business that are not interrelated or connected. They could be two completely separate organizations and entities that sell two different products or services, right? So the way it is now, and as it stands now, and I think that this is addressed in the frequently asked questions that we sent up to y'all, but the way it's addressed now is each EIN number is its own entity. So as long as you don't have a parent organization that all of these different businesses fall under the umbrella, it depends how you have it structured legally and how you're reporting income to the IRS is the short answer. So if you have a parent company, an umbrella corporation that owns all of these other small businesses, and you file taxes through the parent solely for each of the silos, then you get one bite at the apple. So the parent would have to apply for all of the smaller businesses underneath the umbrella. Now, if you're structured so that you have a parent and you have all these other individual small businesses and silos, and they all pay taxes to the IRS directly through their EIN numbers and not the parent, then in theory, yes, each one of those businesses would be eligible for relief under these programs. But I'm not a lawyer, so what I can tell you is consult with your attorney or whoever represents you in legal matters. Talk to your CPA or whoever does your books to confirm that how you're actually paying your taxes and that sort of stuff. And so that is really going to drive the answers for us, is how are you structured legally, and the IRS wants to know who's paying what. So if you can prove those are separate and being paid separate, then take the shot.
Awesome, awesome. So we're playing basketball and we're taking as many shots as we can get. So that sounds like a Kobe Bryant approach.
There you go, Mamba mentality.
Okay. So let's see, is there anything else that you would like to convey here? Anything that most people don't know, or anything that shocked you throughout this whole process?
I think the volume that we've received has shocked everybody. Normally, before all of this went down, as far as SBA lending goes, Georgia was always in the top 5. We always have a very active and engaged banking community here. They're excellent at what they do. They've been doing it for a long time, and that has always placed Georgia in the top 5 nationally for SBA lending. And I think that savvy, and I know we didn't, I know that we were not as forthcoming or as quick with some of the information and instructions as we would like to. And so what I'd like to tell my banking friends is we understand your pain. We're going through the same pain. The problem is normally we would only have to consult with us. We would form our own SOPs, our own policies and procedures. And because we are not the only game in this show right now, we have other federal partners that we have to wait for. I'm not going to name them. I've said them a few times already. But there are folks who need to weigh in on their portions. And so sometimes things don't get released as quickly as we would have liked, or in a manner in which we would have liked, or that our bankers are used to doing business with us. So it's new for everybody. Like I said, we're flying the plane as we build it, and every day we learn a little more. But I'll tell you what, we've been working since the president had his address in the Oval Office about 6 weeks ago and mentioned $50 billion for small businesses. That was the starting point for us. We've literally done 6 days a week, 12 to 14 hours a day for the last 6 weeks. And just to try to keep up with demand, because the demand is so great, the need is so great. We're aware of that. We live and work in your communities. We know what's going on. It's affecting us the same way. And personally, what I've got from this is a lot of friendships I've made with folks who we've been able to help navigate through this quagmire of misinformation and disinformation, to try to get them through and get the correct answers and the correct contacts so that we can get them the relief they need, period. So for me, it's all about the personal side of it, the connections with the people we've been able to talk to and share their stories. And we're all in this together. Yeah, I mean, it's the government, but this is the part of the government that actually works, and this is how it's supposed to work, and we're doing our best to make it work better every day. And what I would say, one last thing is, don't believe the hype. Okay, you're going to read a lot of stuff out there. Don't believe it. You're going to say, oh, we're running out of money. You know, SBA is running out of money for the PPP program. The original allocation was $349 billion, and y'all put out $250 billion already. In theory, that's correct. We're running out of money. But here's what people forget. When the CARES Act was passed, Congress automatically put a $6 trillion bucket of money aside that they already voted and passed. This doesn't need to be debated or disputed or anything anymore. That money was approved when the original CARES Act was passed, and we got $349 billion just for the PPP program. So what I want to convey to folks is, don't panic. We're just waiting on them to do their dance in DC and refill the buckets. The money was already approved. It was already authorized. They're just arguing about how much goes into each bucket. Not that the money's not there. The money is there. They're just going to squabble over, you know, politicians are going to be politicians. Our job is to be one of the tools that helps get the economy running again. And so don't believe everything you see and hear. There will be plenty of money for everybody. We ain't going to run out with $6 trillion. I can promise you that. We may be on hold for a minute or two while while the two parties figure out how much they want to put in each bucket, but we're never going to run out of money.
Awesome. Awesome. Now that's good news. So I have one last question. Do you have any insight as to how long it's taking businesses to get funded through these different programs?
So again, for the EIDL started about a week and a half before the PPP program did. So, you know, it's as good as the information we get is as quick as we can turn it. So I think it's been 14 to 28 days on the EIDL side. For the advance money, the up to $10,000 per employee, they're trying to whittle that down and get it into the 5-day window, which is really the target for this. So we are seeing people get funded on those. Again, like I mentioned previously, we're seeing people get ACHs into their accounts before they even get the letter notifying them what they got and what it's for. We anticipate that as time goes on, more and more of that will flow through, hopefully at a quicker pace. We understand the need. We understand the timing around the need. And, you know, the good thing is a lot of companies are working with folks. So a lot of mortgage companies were already told by the federal government they should be deferring mortgage payments for folks. And there's also programs for folks that rent. So, you know, if your landlord had a mortgage with one of these Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, Ginnie Mac deals, they were already issued automatic forbearance deferments on those. So hopefully you can, you know, work with your landlord and work with your mortgage company so that your biggest bill, your housing bill, is, you know, you're not having to make that right now until this money comes in. And the other thing I can tell you is I personally checked this morning, and believe it or not, the IRS stimulus money came in. So they were talking about that money for, I think it was for married couples making up to $199,000. They were going to get, anybody below that threshold was getting $1,200. And for every eligible dependent under 18, I believe there was an additional $500. So, and actually, allegedly 80 million of those wires went out last night, and believe it or not, I must have been one of the 80.
Pretty good.
Because I was shocked. So it's working. It's working. I know it's government. Government doesn't have a great reputation, but I can tell you this, and this is why specifically I joined this agency. This is the one federal agency that can raise their hand and pass a lie detector test to say, we're here from the government and we're here to help, and mean it.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Ed, I'd like to thank you for coming to help us out. And for anyone who's wondering, this is Ed's contact information. Please send him a word of thanks for participating. Ed, we hope to have you back out at GCA one day once we're able to get within 6 feet of each other. And I love to shake your hand.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
again.
Appreciate the invite.
So one last announcement from GCA. Just want to make sure everyone knows that we have a Gov boot camp coming up April 27th and 28th. Normally, we try to fit this program into one day. We're here from like 8:30 to 5 o'clock during the day, and we just couldn't see everyone sitting online and getting something out of a program that lasted that long. So we're going to do it in two chunks, starting April 27th at 5 p.m. until 8 p.m. And then April 28th, the second portion of the program will be from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. And members get a discount on this one, and that's the benefit of being a member. It's $2.99 per member and $5.99 for non-members. And basically, you are getting 3 years of knowledge in 2 days. So if you want to grow your business in government contracting, please sign up. You can register at and get more information at www.govbootcamp.com. And with that, I'd like to thank you all for attending and hope to see you soon. Be safe out there.
Thank you.
Yeah. So,